Hello, my friend that love the common sense in all the world. I'm very happy to be another time here. And today we have Markus Klotz. Hello, Markus, how are you?
I'm fine, Fabrizio. Nice for being on your program. Thank you very much for inviting us.
Oh, thank you, you too, for staying with us. Okay, how you know the first question is about the common sense that I try to spray in all the world. It means what is the common sense definition that you use in your life, not only like a doctor, but like a person.
Well, listen, for us, we are a clinic that treats people medically. We try, and we're a bit different because I am a patient. I was having long COVID. And that is the reason why I made this clinic, right? Because I wanted to help other people that went through the same problems as me. I was in a wheelchair, bedbound. I was 23 hours in the bed. I couldn't live a life. I had a caregiver. They were taking care of me. And I didn't want anyone to go through this. Now, common sense for me in this sense is, how do we help people who have the same problem after COVID? Because as you quite well know, after COVID, many of us, they did not recover anymore. And I'm not speaking about a week or a month or 2 or 3 months. I'm speaking about long term, maybe forever. And this kind of virus can actually do quite a lot of damage to your system. So the common sense for me is, how do we treat them best? How do we treat them the cheapest way and the most efficient way? And how do we bring these people that suffered from the same as me back to life?
Okay, yes, this I understood your viewpoint is correct. Thank you very much. But I think that living in a society, we need to think in also, we need to consider everything else, means also the spiritual aspect that I think is important. Means this is what I think. What do you think about?
Well, I think there is levels of this, yes. I believe that if people work together, like common in the sense of community, the results will always be better, right? If you don't restrict your way of thinking, but if you're open for ideas. And I think in this modern day and age of the internet, more and more people, they specialize only in one area, and they actually are pretty blind to many other areas, right? So probably we would all be a bit better off if we would not shut our eyes too much, but just look a little to the left and look a little to the right.
Exactly. Okay, we can start with the interview about the period of the pandemic. But first, I ask you if you want introduce yourself, what you're doing, where are you, and why.
Of course, my pleasure. So my name is Markus Klotz. I am actually from Austria. I was born in Austria. Since 7 years, I live in Cyprus, a Mediterranean island in the Mediterranean Sea, which is actually a very beautiful place because it has an amazing climate. People like Shakira, Peter, Andre have chosen to have their holiday homes here, and that's for a reason, because it really is a very beautiful place here. Everything is quite cozy, small, quite accessible, and it has one of the nicest climates in the European Union. So I had long COVID myself, and I came here to Cyprus and opened a clinic here because I wanted to help people who went through the same problem as me, right? That's what I did. And now we're running this clinic since almost 2 years, and we're treating people who have chronic illness, who have long COVID or vaccine injuries, because in the private system, because we're a private clinic, it is easier to give people access than in many public systems. And it's quite interesting. A lot of people travel to us from all over the world, the US, Australia, Singapore, Canada, the UK, because at home, for them, it's sometimes very hard to access help, especially for an illness like long COVID or vaccine injury.
Yes, thank you. And means, what was your professional experience during the pandemic? What you see?
Well, so first of all, I think it hits humanity by surprise in a way, right? I mean, in the beginning, many of us, including myself, we probably didn't take it very serious, right? Okay, another virus. We had a few of those. But then when I got it myself and it completely disabled me, I was healthy, sporty, family man, and just after 8 weeks, I was bedridden. Like I was a vegetable. I could not use my body anymore. I didn't see proper. I could only speak an hour or an hour and a half a day. I could not even hold a glass of water at my worst times. So this virus completely disabled me. And I was very lucky to discover, with the help of my family and friends, which treatments to access to get better, because many of the people with long COVID and vaccine injury, they don't get better, you know. So my professional experience during the pandemic was in the second part of the pandemic, like in the second going on to the third year, when we had already the establishment here ready, the clinic, right? So of course, for me, it's like reliving my own story every time when a new patient comes here, because it's only been 2 years ago that I was sick myself, right? And what we see is it's a blend between long COVID, which is also called PASC, post-acute sequela of COVID, and vaccine injury. And very often they blend, you know. Like, for example, in my family, my mother, my grandmother, my auntie, and me, we were very much affected by this, right? Some by vaccine injury, some by long COVID. The other side of the family was not affected by all. My father, my sister, my niece, they had no issues, right? So, quite frankly, I think for a large proportion of us, of the humanity, let's just say a number, 80%, the virus does not really have any negative impact on their health long term. But what you don't want to be amongst those 20% of people where you're one of those that it has a very strong effect on. And you most certainly don't want to be on the end of the scale like me, where it has a very, very strong impact and literally takes your life away, right?
Okay, yes, understood. And what did you understand during this period?
Well, I would say there are several things we understood. So our medical team, our doctors, our nurses, they very early understood the most important is, if you can, try to not get infected. That's very hard because, you know, masks works up to a certain point, aerosol, etc., will not protect you, the masks. But eventually, most of the people got it, right? Because no matter how much you protect yourself, you are a social person. You go shopping, food shopping, you go to work, etc. So most of us eventually got infected. And the second thing is, if you get infected, it's very important that you take it serious and you don't just wait what happens. Like a lot of medical professionals from a very early time on said, the moment you infect, try to treat it early. Take antivirals, take blood thinners, take the right supplements, right? In some parts of the world, that worked actually quite well. Like in countries like Mexico, Honduras, India, that was a medical strategy called early treatment, and that worked quite well. In other parts, like the US or the European Union, they actually emphasized the vaccine strategy. So there's different ways how to approach it, and I think the data pretty clearly now shows that some countries did better than other countries, right?
Yes, exactly. And now you have a clinic, correct?
Yeah, now we are running a clinic to treat vaccine injury and long COVID for people that are suffering from it. Yeah,
exactly. And what is the actual situation? What's happened in your clinic? What you see?
Well, we're fully booked, unfortunately, right? So we have waiting lists. Right now, the waiting lists are not as large as a year ago, but that's not because we see less people getting long COVID. It's because we started 1.5 years ago. And right now, I mean, our main treatment that we use is a very specific form. It's called HELP apheresis, which is a very specific form to clean your blood from viral persistence, from coagulation problems, from inflammation, from autoantibodies, etc. And it's a quite rare form of treatment. And there's only 16 clinics in the world who do this at this very moment. Oh, so wow. I think the reason why our waiting lists were that long in the beginning because it was such a huge influx of people at the same time. Now that there are 16 clinics, it spreads a little bit amongst the clinics. So now our current waiting times are anywhere between 1 to 3 months usually, you know.
Okay, means you think that the detox program is important?
Well, I'm not so happy with the terminology of detox, because detoxing, well, yes, it is in a form, in one way or a form, it is detoxing, right? But after all, it is actually a medical treatment, and we don't only apply one treatment. So we have figured out from clinical experience and from working together, because there is quite a large part of the medical community where doctors really share their information freely amongst each other, right? So clinical experience in the first years will usually always beat scientific research, simply because it takes less time, right? I think that's the one and main reason for it. There might be others. So we have actually figured out a lot about the illness in the last 2 years. There's like so much more that we know than 2 years ago, right? Like what's at the core of the illness of long COVID and vaccine injury. It looks like there is a very high possibility that microclotting, a very small clotting in the blood, is at the core of the illness, right? Which also causes inflammation problems and so on, which then also cause oxygen starvation of the body, the brain, the tissue. So that's where all of these symptoms come from. Because I don't know if you're familiar with the symptoms. You can have very strong fatigue. You can have muscle weakness. You can have post-exertional malaise. You can have problems with literally every organ. And we've learned so much about this illness that by now we can treat it much better than 2 years ago, right? So I'm always astounded how some of the media continues to say long COVID is a mystery, or you can't treat it, or vaccine injury. I disagree with that. It's not easy to treat, yes, but it definitely is treatable.
Yes, image. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. And before that, we finish this short interview. You have any advice that you like to give at our listeners?
Yes, absolutely. I wish I would have had that advice when I caught COVID the first time, right? First of all, don't wait with treatment. Do the treatment as early as possible, because with viral illnesses, earlier is always better, right? And the second advice is, of course, protect yourself, but in case you catch it, really start what we call early treatment, antivirals, sometimes anticoagulants, certain supplements, high-dose vitamin C, vitamin D, etc. The list is endless, and different clinics and doctors have different protocols. But there is quite a lot out there already, and it's not that difficult to find good treatment protocols or good doctors anymore. So whatever you do, whatever treatment you choose to get the upper hand against this illness, try to do it as early as possible, because viral illnesses or post-viral illnesses, they have a habit of chronifying rather fast, and also it's easier to treat them at the beginning.
Yes, okay, perfect. Thank you very much. I want to thank you for your precious time, because I think that I remove your time from your patient. I don't want this, but okay.
Don't worry, we're fine. It's the last patient already is on the way out of the clinic now, so no problem. Today we're done. We don't work 24 hours, you know.
Okay. And but I want to make a specific interview, if you want, of course, next time, for understood how your clinic make this treatment, what the viewpoint that you use, and what is the product and the tips that you want to give you.
My pleasure. Anytime, Fabrizio.
Okay,
of course.
Perfect. Thank you very much for today, and we see very, very fast for Common Sense Clinic.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Fabrizio. Have a good time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Bye-bye.